So you are acting from minister to mother, wife, now acting. Yes, this is something you wanted to do?
Well, it's something that I guess I didn't not want to do. It just wasn't it wasn't even in my thought process or my line of thinking as something that the Lord would allow me to do. So it's just been a gift and a privilege to be able to do something so random and adventure filled, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Some things I was curious about, especially being a novice. You can pull the tears. It seemed like that. I mean, and real. How'd you do it?
Well, I did have to work on it a lot. I will tell you how I started practicing when they told me that I was doing the role and that I would need to pull a lot of emotion. If my husband and I were driving somewhere, for example, so I had some time to kill and I'm in the passenger seat, my goal would be to sit over there and to work on crying. So at any point, at any given moment, my husband would look over and go, "What is wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just practicing."
Very good.
So I just worked on it as much as I could. And I did have to learn, though, well, let me just say this. I have a brand new appreciation for actors that they win awards for this. And I mean, it is a craft. It is a lot of work. And one thing that occurred to me well into the filming process was that if you waste all your tears in that wide shot, when they come around to do your single, you are a dry well and you don't have anything left. So you kind of have to be a little choosy with when you're going to spill tears and how much tears and all of that, because you don't want to use them all up before they get yours.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I know.
This is a real powerful story. I did interview the Kendrick brothers, and I said to them, when you say to someone, I'm going to do a film about prayer, I don't see people lining up at the box office.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the many things I appreciate about the Kendrick brothers, beyond their integrity, their character, their desire to really see people edified and God's name glorified, beyond that, what I appreciate about them is their ability to take these high-level, in the clouds concepts like prayer and to pull them down into grassroots, practical, real-life circumstances so that the regular blue-collar Joe Blow, regular housewife, you know, kids everywhere, diapers, she can walk into the theater and go, "Oh, that's me." And still get the message of this bigger picture principle. They're able to do that artfully, and that's what I appreciate about them.
Miss Amber Abercrombie, oh, what a powerhouse role.
Yes.
Tell us about the relationship, the character. I mean, for those who haven't necessarily seen the film yet.
Yes, Karen Abercrombie is a seasoned actress. I learned so much from her as she skillfully played the role of Miss Clara. Miss Clara really is the heart and soul of this film. When people walk away from seeing this movie, they will remember more than anything that Miss Clara. They will want a Miss Clara in their life, because Karen Abercrombie made it so. And her relationship, Miss Clara's relationship with Elizabeth Jordan, who is my character, is one that people will want to duplicate, because all of us wish in some way, even if we don't know how to verbalize it, we wish that there was someone who's already walked this road. They've already done this. They've already made those mistakes that they can see you on your way to making. They've raised their kids, or they've been through that little patch of marriage, or they're just on the journey you would like to be on, whether it's in your career or in your personal life. We wish we had someone that's been there and done that, that is willing and available to come to us and say, "Let me help you." And then it also shows, I think, the beauty of a younger person who is teachable enough and not so arrogant that they won't receive what somebody else wants to give them. So I think there's a beautiful dynamic there in that relationship, and one that I hope people are going to not miss as an undercurrent message, but a critical message of this film.
One of the things that I think the film tells is a war is being fought in many people's homes, but it's being fought the wrong way. How true do you think that translates into what's going on in our world, all the things that we're seeing unfold?
Yeah.
I'm in the news business, so I report it every day. How true do you think that is? We are at war, but many of us fighting the wrong battle.
Absolutely. For every visible, physical event that we see happen in our lives, whether positive or negative, there is a spiritual counterpart that we cannot see. And when we see circumstances in our lives pop up that we want to deal with, we want to find a solution to, that we want to move out of the path of our life, we tend to use physical solutions because those are the ones we know how to handle and utilize most effectively. But if we're always targeting what we can see and never get around to the undercurrent of what we can't see, then we'll never have any lasting change because that undercurrent will still always be effective. And so what this movie does is it opens our eyes to the fact that for everything that is happening in our culture, in our nation, in our own homes and in our communities, in our churches, that divisiveness, the agendas that are going against the solidified principles, age-old principles, venerated principles of the Word of God, that for all of that, there is a very real enemy who is a sinister, cunning, scheming enemy who is trying to make sure that we do anything and everything except target him. And so War Room basically says, shift your attention away from all you can see and do not forget that just because the enemy is invisible, that does not mean he is fictional. He is very real. Prayer hits him where it hurts.
Was there a Miss Clara in your personal life as you got married, had children, ministered? Was there one for you?
You know, I will say that the Lord has been very gracious to me, or maybe I've just been really bold, because I would go to women that I admired their life for whatever reason it was specifically that I was dealing with then. And I would say to them, I need to spend time with you, if you don't mind. I admire your life, your marriage maybe, or it's the way I've seen you raise your kiddos, or the career path you've chosen and the choices you've made. I would love to spend some time with you. And I was just that bold girl that would go and ask that older woman to help me out just a little bit. And I think there's something to be said of that, of a younger person saying, you know what, I see the peace of God on your life, and I want to know how it's there, what you do to keep God's presence near. And so I have had several women throughout several seasons of my life that I'm so grateful for that have been willing to pour their lives into mine.
Beautiful. When people leave the theater, what are you praying has happened?
When people leave the theater, I am hoping that they will be so shocked by the technical excellence of this faith-based film, because let's be honest, sometimes our expectations are kind of low when it comes to Christian movies. We do not expect much. So I'm praying that when they walk out of the movie, they are stunned at not only the technical excellence, but the entertainment value, that they laughed, that they cried, that they felt themselves in the story. I'm also praying, though, more than anything, that they will walk away with a Holy Spirit chill of conviction running down their spine, and that they cannot wait to get out of that theater and go straight to their house so that they can find a place to turn into a little war room closet or war room corner, or some place that they can reprioritize the power of prayer in their lives.
Will we see you on any other screen soon?
Well, I don't know. You know, I'm kind of just open to whatever it is that the Lord might have planned. You could have never told my husband or me or my family that this would be anything that we would have the privilege to be a part of. So I've learned to just never say never, and just make ourselves available to God and say, okay, Lord, well, whatever's next, I'm already on board for whatever's next. And so, you know, who knows?
What do you say to people about the power of prayer? How powerful is it?
Yeah, well, I believe, you know, Paul mapped out for us in Ephesians chapter 6, this spiritual armor. He's like, if you have this on, you will be victorious. You know, the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, and on and on. And most of the time we stop at those 6 pieces of armor. But right at the tail end of that, he says over 2 verses, more biblical real estate than the other pieces of armor. He says, pray at all times in the Spirit, on every occasion, for all the believers. He goes on and on and on about prayer, as if to say, this is the 7th weapon. And this 7th weapon is the one really that infuses the other 6 with this power that they need to actually be effective in battle. So more than anything, I think that the Lord is trying to remind his people that if you'll just pray, I will hear. I will heal the land. Prayer is the key he has given us to unlock all the power of heaven so that he's just waiting to release it, but somebody's got to use the key. And so if we'll use that key, he will unleash all of his power and his glory, and his presence will be known and felt not only in our homes, but in our world.
One thing I have to point out, and I said this to the Kendrick brothers as well, is I thought it was so powerful to see not only yourself, but TC playing your husband, African-American people in these roles, the entire family, from your daughter to Miss Clara. How important do you think this was? I mean, I just thought that was so powerful.
I agree with what the Kendrick brothers have told me as to why they made that choice in terms of their casting, that this story really could not have been told any other way. The sense of passion and desperation and fervor that you hear in some of those prayers that they wrote, they just belong in the mouth of a Miss Clara, you know? It just fits that kind of a dynamic. So it just seems like the story rang more true because it was told from the perspective that they chose to tell it from. That being said, I do also think as a culture, it is beneficial for us, as many opportunities as we have, to see a healthy family situation, a successful family situation, because the reality is there are over 70% of African American homes that do not have a male figure in the home. Over 70%. And if that is the case, for us to see in this movie not only a successful family that has done well for themselves career-wise, but also a man and a woman who demonstrate humility, especially in the African American culture. We've been taught to be independent and to be strong and to don't take any mess from anybody. But in this movie, we see a man who humbles himself not only before the Lord, but before his wife. We see a wife who is willing to put down the attitude so that she can save her family and to humble herself as well. And I think a lot of times families disintegrate simply because everyone's too prideful to discover the gift that humility really can be in restoring their families. And so to see that, period, but specifically to see it within the context of an African American household, I think is a great gift to not just African Americans, but to all of us.
Beautiful. Last question for you. You've written a book as well, as
Yes.
sort of a companion. Tell me about that.
Yes. Fervent is specifically for women. It is a women's battle plan for serious, specific, and strategic prayer. It's for the woman who's walking out of the theater and she's seen Elizabeth begin to transform her life with not just consistent prayer, but strategy in her prayer. Well, this book sort of helps to guide you through how you can make strategies for a specific area of your life where the enemy seems to be targeting you the most.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
Awesome.